The Investor Club bonus stories.
Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse, and you're watching the Investor Club bonus stories.
Okay, so yet another EV car company has made its debut on the public market. Faraday Future underwent a SPAC onto the NASDAQ with Property Solutions Acquisition Corp, or PSAC, and it's now trading under the ticker symbol FFIE. What does it mean when you are a publicly traded company? Well, it means you have to regularly file your financial statements with the SEC. But wait, what's that I hear? Faraday Future has delayed their latest SEC filing? Why? Well, last month, a short seller research firm put out a 27-page report called EV for Faraday spells embezzlement vehicle. Move over Lordstown, there's a new EV scam in town.
Ouch.
Yeah, so we'll put a link to that report below. The report claims that existing shareholders are poised to get out. There's a huge cash burn going on at Faraday Future, and they claim that Faraday Future will never sell a car. So Faraday Future has told the SEC that they're delaying their latest filing to complete an internal report. My thoughts here are that so much is true in the short seller report that they had to address, because if they had just filed their SEC report without addressing it, it would have raised some red flags. And so my guess is they are trying to figure out ways to explain away some of the things they've done. Maybe their SEC filing was going to be much rosier and now it won't. I don't know. What they did do, you've been watching this video behind us and you're like, why are you showing us this video? This was put up by Faraday Future to try, I think, and bolster shareholders' support of the company, showing that like we're hiring and we're building. I mean, look at those three guys down in the pit pouring some concrete. Oh no, they haven't poured it yet, but they will. That's some of the slowest construction. Like that looks like it was filmed on a Sunday. I don't know what, I mean, look at that compared to like a Tesla.
I've seen
building.
like house job sites with less gusto than that.
Yeah. So that shows me that your budget, your construction budget is really off, or I don't know what. It's just not like, if you were supposed to give me confidence, that did not give me confidence, first of all. I just want to point out that Faraday Future still claims it will deliver its first cars to customers in July. But again, go back and look at that factory. Does that look like they're going to have it even done by July, let alone making cars?
This is the problem. We have all these little deadline things, all these little things that we look for. Like, oh, when's the first car delivered?
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing. I mean, like, you can build a car.
No,
like,
right. I mean,
anyone can build a car if you have
They've
that
got a
budget.
body in white right now that's getting painted. And I mean, it's easy for people to go like, great, see, they got a car. If you kind of looked at their little setup there, yeah, they're putting together a car, but that doesn't mean that you know how to build it mass production and then build it cheaply enough. Keep in mind, their former CEO, Jia Yuting, filed for bankruptcy in late 2019. And he was kind of funding this whole thing through like infinite money supply until people found out he didn't have that. I want to discuss this big point. So the company went public in July. There's normally what's called a lockout. So shareholders that go into a company that went from private to public have a lockout. You know about this. You got some shares in a company that went public and you were locked out.
Right, I couldn't sell them for a while.
And why do they do that?
Because as soon as the lockout period ends, everyone wants to like sell all their shares immediately. And, and the stock price, in my case especially, it plummeted because everyone was just like, I'm going to get out. I don't know how to deal with money because I'm just an engineer. I'm not a financial person and I don't have any. So like,
no, but this is an important point. I want to back that up a bit.
Right.
Why do you want to get out? It's not that it's a scam. It's that there's so many people who've been not paid enough for years. They've been paid in equity in the company.
Yeah.
And so for the longest time, that company was worth nothing because like they would go like, where do I sell these shares? You can't. It's private. Then one day it goes public and they go, oh my God, I can sell my shares. Oh my God. And they wait for the deadline to be over. And then they sell because it's the first time they can actually see some profits. Now, is it smart to sell then? Probably not, depending on the company. But they're, like you said, they're not really investors. They're just so desperate to see some cash finally.
And they're so scared to have like, what if it goes down?
Right.
And it's like, yeah, it could go down, but like you probably already made a huge profit. Because I mean, your strike price was probably 1/10 or less of what the share price is now.
But see, that's another thing. A lot of people are like, I made 10x, I'm going to sell. And that's great. I mean, you did make 10x, but what if you could make more? What I want to point out here is that was July. So if it's a 6-month lockout, and I haven't done my research, you should read this report in full. I think it's usually 6, sometimes 9. Then that would mean January or so would come the plunge period, as we call it, because that would be when a huge number of early investors could get out, which means that you have a lot of stock being dumped. And so you see the stock chart here. It's being traded it's down at its lows right now. It's very like unattractive. Imagine if we're right, and in January we get another plunge.
Because I mean, you might think that the people working in a company are going to be like the most into it, the most loving of that company because they think it's awesome. No. And especially a company like this where it's just been must have been an emotional roller coaster. And I feel so bad for anyone working for Faraday Future. I'm sure that they want to get the hell out.
Well, that's another good point. So let's say that you're one of these engineers who at some point realize, oh God, the wheels have come off this car. I don't know what I'm going to do. If I stick it out and they do go public successfully and I can make it through this lockout period and I can sell my shares, I'll at least get something back from my years of hard work. Well, what if a whole bunch of talented engineers are waiting for that moment and they're all going to leave like rats from a ship? That's what I'm worried about here, is that there might be some good people on there. I'm not, I'm sure they're smart. But if they all kind of jump ship at that moment and go work at Tesla or other companies, who are they going to have left?
Right.
So if you're looking at this now like, cheap EV company, I'd be really careful. Now, disclaimer, we are not financial advisors. Do your own research. And I really mean that. Do your own research. We are not I didn't put a whole lot of effort into this because I'm staying away from it.
We didn't write a 27-page report.
Right.
We did read a 27-page report, but that doesn't mean that we're experts on it.
Right. So, and keep in mind, this report are short sellers. They are shorting the stock. Right. They have every incentive for you to agree with them that the company's going down.
And we're biased. I mean, we were pretty excited about the FF91 when it was first. For like a second where they were like, wow, is the car driving around the parking lot itself and not having a guy in the back of the which looked like it was, and like, oh, cool, it'll have rear wheel steering, and we didn't know what that was.
This is a perfect example of what companies promise in the beginning. Like, you get a mule, it can do some tricks, and you think, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. But you have to not only make those tricks come true in the real world, but then you have to mass produce the car and make a profit. Really hard to do. And I just think that this is pretty scammy looking. It's always appeared that way to me. I don't like the leadership here. I just, there's nothing about this company that really attracts me. Yes, it's an EV company.
I didn't even like the videos that they put out.
No, I know.
Just their tone. It was just like, well, we're doing this. And it wasn't like, I am so excited. Like, there was none of that. Like, you don't necessarily hear it with Elon because he's Elon. But these guys were, just pretty normal sounding people. The tone that I got was like, guys, come in here. We need to do something about this. And they were like, okay. That's the feeling I got. And, that might be because they're dealing with it. But I've never liked.
Yeah.
I mean, they've Faraday Future. I don't know.
Yeah. My biggest hope for them would be that they get bought by somebody if they had some kind of technology. But honestly, I don't even see what the technology is.
Right. I mean, at this point, a lot of flash. Yeah.
Anyway, hope that, if you were like, I'm going to get into another EV company, I hope that at least gets you to look at it a second time before you jump in.
Maybe we wait for the plunge point.
Maybe, but and that's normally my strategy, is to look for, a cheap day on the market, but that's for something that's of quality. Like, I want to remind you guys again, if you go into a store and you see something that you've always wanted and it's on sale, great. But if you go into a store and you're like, hey, look at this, honey, it's $1.50, and you're like, what's that? Then don't buy it. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean you need it.
It's for houses that have 17 sinks. It's a 17 sink cleaner.
We only have 3 sinks.
But it's so cheap.
It's so cheap. Yeah. And I mean, also keep in mind that the market is really overvalued right now. A lot of stocks are overvalued. There's probably going to be a serious correction, and that's going to pull down so many things so fast. We've seen this before. And when it happens, things like this that are pretty much junk to begin with, they just get really wiped out. So be really careful. All right. We'll see you guys soon. Now you know.